Welcome to Pathways, a career podcast from the Idaho State University Career Center. I'm your host, Mark Beaver. Today we're talking with Dr. Craig Chatriand, Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students at Idaho State University. When Craig was young, he didn't even know that his job was a job. Though, as he continued to move through school, he followed his interests and paid keen attention to the mentors around him, which eventually gave him direction to finding a truly fulfilling career. Please sit back and enjoy our conversation with Craig. Hi, Craig. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for coming down. So we all know that the Dean of Students' main job from movies and television is to keep rascally fraternities in check.
Yes.
Is that all the job is, or can you give us a little bit more background on what a Dean of Students does?
Sure. And that's funny because you're probably referencing one of the opening scenes of Animal House, which is how a lot of people describe our profession. But a Dean of Students does a lot of different things, but it's focused on helping students be successful in college. I am in charge of our student conduct system, and so if we do have an allegation of a student violating a policy, they'll meet with me or one of my staff members. But we spend a whole lot more time in our care and assistance area. And so if a student is struggling, and that could be any number of things, they're struggling to get connected, they have a personal emergency, they're food insecure, they need emergency funds for something. My office helps students in a whole lot of those ways, and we spend a lot more time doing that than on the behavioral piece. We work with students who are struggling with mental health issues. We're a kind of a pass-through to the counseling center. And so a friend, a faculty member, a parent might reach out and say, I'm concerned about my student. They seem depressed, or they made some comments I'm really worried about. So we'll reach out, try to connect with that student. We start with the safety piece and move forward. But so we refer a lot of students to our counseling and testing center. If students are struggling to pay their bill or work with a faculty member, we try to help students resolve conflicts, and we try to help them remove barriers to be successful on campus.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty. That's a holistic look at taking care of the students who are here, really.
Yeah, I really like your use of the word holistic. That's what we try to do. Students rarely struggle with an academic issue, and they rarely struggle with just a personal issue. The students' worlds aren't just siloed like that. Mm-hmm. So if they're struggling in one area, that's going to overflow into another area. If they're working too many hours to be able to complete their schoolwork, that impacts a lot of different areas of their life. So we do try to take a very holistic approach to working with students. We want them to know that we're an office that is here to help them be successful. We're here to support them. We try to be cheerleaders for students and provide encouragement. But mostly we want to make sure they know we can help them find a path to be successful here. Yeah.
I think it is one of the things I found most intriguing or eye-opening about working in student affairs myself is how lucky I was as a student, that there's so many different factors affecting a student's ability to attend college and to kind of stay on while they're here. So many different things that have to be considered, and they are, as you said, they're all kind of connected. Like you pull one string at one place and something else is going to be affected down the line. So I guess how does your work, that's a very great view of what a Dean of Students does. How does that manifest on a day-to-day? What kind of skills do you have to use? What are you doing for the most part?
One of the things that people in my profession say is there's not a regular day.
Yeah.
And rarely what my calendar says I'm supposed to do in any given day ends up being where my time is spent. We do a lot with students who just walk in and need help. If a faculty member calls us because they're concerned about a student, those will take precedent. And so there isn't one day that is really ever the same. We get really good at kind of bouncing back and forth between talking to a student who might be having suicidal ideation, and we finish that meeting, and then we might turn around, and I'm also the advisor to our student government, ISU. So you might go from a meeting working with a student on something that's life-changing for them. We work with students who are going through personal emergencies, and so to turn around and take those heart-wrenching conversations and stories, and then we have to step outside of that and go talk about student retention or student leadership initiative. So in my profession, I think we get pretty good at kind of compartmentalizing and moving between one thing or another and being able to come back to those things. The one thing that is consistent is understanding students, and while I think it's a skill, it's also having a heart to care about student success. We know that getting a college degree, getting a certificate is life-changing. Yeah. And we know that we have 70 years of research that will tell us that. And the main argument is usually, go to college, you'll make more money. That's true. Almost, we can find some small exceptions, but as a general rule, that's true. You have a certificate, associate's, bachelor's degree, you're going to make more money over the course of your lifetime. But what we leave out of that conversation is completing college. Also, you're going to be healthier. You're going to report being happier. You're going to have better interpersonal relationships. You're going to be more involved in your community. The same research that tells us you'll make more money tells us you'll have a higher quality of life as well. And so when we say complete your degree, it will change your life, it's not just financial. It's that holistic picture that we were talking about a few minutes ago. Right.
And I mean, I think that, I personally think that this has really become apparent to me in the last couple years, just the ability to read critically, to think critically, to be given, in the landscape that we live in now, with social media, with our news coming from all these different sources and through social media, to be able to kind of like have a little bit of training on how to discern, a little bit of media literacy, an appropriate source, how to read it critically, how to look for those signs that will tell you this is a legitimate source of information. These all go back into what you were just saying, being that involved community member and kind of helping to move our society as a whole along. I think that those are really some of those underlying parts of benefits of a college education that maybe just don't get really talked about as much as the go to college so you get a good job or something like that.
Yeah, and I had a really great mentor who he was a faculty member at Iowa State University, where I got to do some of my graduate work. And I one time asked him, he has written over like 200 research articles. This is one of the smartest people I've ever had the pleasure of being around. And I asked him one time, why do you continue to push so hard at research? Why do you engage he spends so much energy continuing to learn and to teach other people. And he kind of it felt like he was talking in code, but he said, I remember when I was young, I was on a walk with my dad, and there was a caterpillar, on a leaf, and we're looking at it, and my dad said, the world's more interesting when you know the life stages of a caterpillar. That's all my mentor said to me, and I've thought about that for years, and I thought, what does that mean? And as I've gotten older and I have increased my education, the world's more interesting when you can connect that a caterpillar and a butterfly have a connection and they're the same. Yeah. The world is more interesting, and it's a better place to be when you understand it, when it's interesting, when you're curious about it. And I think that's one of the very high level benefits of lifelong education. Yeah. Is the world's just a more interesting place to be, and it brings all the things you're talking about, the media literacy, critical thinking, but I enjoy spending time in nature, to be able to walk through nature and understand, to be curious about it and see connections. I think it makes my life better, and I think it makes our students' lives better when they understand the interconnectedness of our world.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that kind of know what you love most about your job. But I'll let you articulate that yourself. What is it that you kind of get the most out of, the most satisfaction out of this job?
I love working with students. That really, and for most of us in student affairs, it feels like a very canned answer, but I get to work with such a diverse group of students. Like I said, I get to work with students who are going through some extremely difficult situations. I work on our Title IX team, so that deals with sexual harassment, sexual and interpersonal violence. I get to work with students who are struggling with mental health, and to be able to provide support to a student who might be going through the hardest thing that they've ever faced in their life, and being able to help them know that there's somebody here who cares and who's supportive, that's incredibly gratifying to me. On the other end of the scale, I get to work with students who want to change the world through leadership.
Yeah.
They want to engage in service. They want to go work for large companies and run them, and they care a lot about leadership. They care about governance at the university. They want to get into politics. And so being able to help students identify their dreams and a path to those dreams is also really, really gratifying. And then I love working on a college campus.
Yeah.
It feels like I never left college, because I've always worked on a college campus. I spent a lot of my career working in residence halls, and so I lived on campus running residence halls for almost a decade.
Wow.
And it's engaging. It's like I said, I feel like I never really left college, and it's fun. College campuses are such amazing places. The amount of youthful energy on our campus is it's so magnetic. It just pulls me to it. And so working with students, being on a campus, watching students reach their dreams. My favorite days of the year are graduation, commencement ceremonies, and the two things I like to do is watch our students cross the stage, and I love to watch their families, especially the families of our first generation students. It is it's so life-changing, and to be able to watch that process, but when I get invited into that process and to know those students is wonderful. There's no better feeling than watching a student that I've watched work and sacrifice to get their degree, to watch them go across the stage and watch their family celebrate them is an amazing experience. Yeah.
There's something that kind of hits a different part of you when you see the success of someone that you've been working with. I think that could probably apply to any profession, whether you're a mentor at a bank or whatever it may be. To see one of those people that you've been working with, that you've been rooting for, be able to find that path and succeed. I think that's universal. Everybody feels good from that feeling, and you get to have a job where this is your job, to get to be able to see this on a kind of a very widespread level. I guess one of my questions is, did you always know that you had this kind of interest or I guess like skill set to be able to be working with people? Has working with people and helping people been something that you've seen reoccur in your life?
Nope. Not at all. When I was younger, I thought there were 4 professions. I thought I could work in construction. I thought I could work in business. I thought I could be a scientist. And really that's as specific as I can be, because I don't understand much of the science world.
Exactly, sure.
And I thought I could be a teacher. That's kind of what I thought was available to me. And so when I went to college, I went to be a teacher. My dream was to teach history, teach choir, which is very funny now because I can't sing and I don't know much about music, but I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to coach football. And I went to college because they were going to let me play football. I went to the University of Montana Western, and I really went because they were going to let me play football there. And I did that for a year. and realized that the college athletics wasn't quite for me. But then I got involved in our residence hall leadership system. I became a resident assistant, and the first draw to that for me is that they paid your room and board. You got a residence hall room and you got a meal plan. And that was a huge financial incentive to do it.
Yeah.
But I also, my first year of college, I knew all of the RAs. I knew the resident assistants. They were my friends. They were the people I hung out with, and that's where I saw people who were striving to learn, to grow. And that was really the first time that I thought, I'm interested in leadership. I'm interested in kind of that self-discovery, learning more about the world outside the classroom. And so I was able to be a resident assistant for 2 years, and through that process I started to learn how much I like to connect with other students. And that's being an RA is very much a peer job. You're helping your peers, you get to work with your peers, and it really felt like I got to plan fun activities that I enjoyed, and I got to go hang out with my friends, and I was kind of getting paid for it.
Yeah.
And then there's the other part of being an RA is sometimes you get to confront students who are violating policy, or you get to help students who are struggling, and that's really where I started doing it. It was just a function of my job, and after doing that for 2 years, I figured out I'm kind of good at this. And then I was able to get a job as a hall director as an undergraduate. I was at such a small school, we didn't have full-time residence life staff like we do at Idaho State University. And so the position I had was very much like our CPI program.
Okay.
I got to help run a residence hall. I got to help provide some supervision to some other RAs. And I did that for 2 years. And towards the end of my first year doing that, I realized why we did what we did in the residence halls. It was trying to connect students to the life of the university. It was trying to build community, help them feel like they had a place at the university. And I thought, this is great. This is why I've enjoyed college so much, is because other people helped me feel connected. Other people helped me feel like I was a part of the community. And then I went on to continue to be a full-time hall director at the University of Northern Colorado, where I got my master's degree. I learned all about college student, psychological, intellectual development. Learned a lot about what helps students be successful. And again, from tons of research, it's that connection to the university. It's feeling like you belong is one of the most critical pieces. And so much of my career has been spent trying to do that, provide opportunities for students to feel connected to the university. So when I started, I wanted to go be a teacher. Somewhere along my path, I wanted to stop college, and I wanted to go be, at one time I wanted to be a logger. I thought about being a pastor of a church. I thought I wanted to go be a carpenter. And also, after college and I started, studying in graduate work, the college student experience, that's very normal. Second, third year of college, a lot of times we call it the sophomore slump. You hit a point where you think, is this really what I want to do? There's other things out there. And that natural curiosity, wanting to explore other potential career fields is something that is very normal for students, especially, like I said, in the second and third year of college. And so I didn't know this is what I wanted to do. Once I got that opportunity to kind of dabble in the residence life world, I realized how much I enjoyed it. I had no idea that could turn into a career until somebody said, you can do this for a living. You can do this on a full-time basis. And I thought, this is going to be the greatest job in the world. And from there, I was a residence hall director. Then I've worked in a number of other areas in higher education. But that residence hall piece, there's always a part of student conduct or student behavior and student success. Those things were always interwoven throughout my career. And really just, it meant so much to me that people were helping me in college, that and those opportunities made such a difference in my life. My undergraduate experience in both inside the classroom and outside the classroom have shaped so much of who I am. If you go to my house and look at my bookshelf, there's still authors from O. Allen Welting's Intro to Literature class that he turned me on to, and I'm passionate about it. I read all of those authors that I can. And so it was the combination of the classroom and outside the classroom experience that I had that really helped me have such a fulfilling experience, and passionate about trying to do that for other students.
Awesome. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Craig Chatriand. He's the Dean of Students at Idaho State University. So you said a couple things there that kind of resonated with me and my path as well. You told me you grew up in a somewhat small town in Montana. I grew up in a somewhat small town in Idaho, and I too graduated high school thinking basically there's all of 4 jobs out there that, and maybe there's more, but I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know anybody who has those jobs. And a lot of them, like myself, was like a forester working for like a Forest Service, or working out at a hospital, or being a teacher. And I too started going in with like a teaching, kind of, that was my focus. And I too changed my major many times actually in those 4 years, as I just kind of grew and developed and started to learn like, oh, there's all these other things out there. And oh, I didn't know that this was a possibility with my skill sets or my interests. But something interesting that happened to you is you took that RA job, and it kind of opened up your eyes, and you said something that you found out, oh, you are good at this. And I think that's something that I try to talk to our students about all the time, about taking those opportunities that you might not think are really for you, because you might find out that you don't like it. You might find out some skills you have, but like, what if you find out you're really good at it, or you really have a skill for it? And then you can kind of start thinking about where you can go with that. It sounded like you had a lot of support. Did you find yourself always building on those skills that you were learning along the way, or trying to incorporate those as you kind of kept moving into your master's and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. What I was able to do as an undergraduate set such a firm foundation for me. But as I moved into my master's degree, and then later my doctorate at Iowa State University, everything I was building went back to that foundation that I had as an undergraduate. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I use the things I was taught as an RA in my day-to-day interactions with all people, inside of work, outside of work. But it scaffolds.
Right.
Those things I learned as an undergraduate. Then in my master's program, I learned some of the theories about here's why we do some of the things we do on a college campus.
Yeah, so you get that kind of that viewpoint from the backside of all these things that just kind of seem natural.
Yeah, there was so much in my master's degree that was like, it was like 2 straight years of light bulbs going on. Oh, this is why I enjoyed that so much. Oh, this is why I got into this kind of work. Oh, this is why when I started learning more about the profession I was wanting to go into and getting more practical experience. So yeah, it was very much a scaffolding piece, and I got to do some different opportunities. Like I said, I thought there were 4 jobs you could have. One was construction, and so part of what I was interested in is the building and maintaining of our facilities in higher education. So while I was a hall director, and so I ran in my master's program, I ran a residence hall that had about 550 students in it, and most of that was interpersonal work with students. It was programming and putting on educational events. It was one-on-one work, but it's also managing a facility, managing the occupancy. And so for a semester, I was really interested in how do we do capital projects? How do we do large-scale renovations? What's the process? And so a great man by the name of Brad Shade let me come in and do an internship in our housing facilities office.
Yeah.
And we were doing a landscaping project, and I got to sit in on that from kind of the time we broke ground through the final punch list items. And it was a whole world of the work that people do that really goes unnoticed, or we think it's an inconvenience because the sidewalk's closed. We have to close the street or turn water off once in a while. But I also was able to see how the physical landscape of a campus impacts interactions, how our physical environments are important to the ability to learn. our campuses have to be safe places.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of that through different types of facilities projects, both the way we I got to be involved in a project where one of the campuses I was on, we had one of the busiest streets in our town went through campus. And it felt a little bit like taking your life in your hands when you crossed that street to get to the other part of campus. And so we did some work on that street. We put in there was already a painted crosswalk, but we tore up the asphalt. We laid brick that was elevated just a little bit, enough that cars had to slow down. And students felt safer. I felt safer crossing that once that was done. And it also looked better. And so the idea that we can change the physical areas to make it more visually appealing, safer, and that's, earlier when I was talking about being on a college campus is so amazing. The way that it feels, and that's from how we landscape it, how we put safety measures in place, lighting. We try to give it a certain aura to a college campus, and that so I got to see some of that on the facilities side, and I haven't done a whole lot of work over there since then, but at least I have an idea of it. But I got to connect all these concepts I was learning about in the classroom to practice, and that was really, really great to see kind of a bigger picture of, I live in residence halls, and I was working with students in them, but what goes into the entire operation of it was really neat to see. Yeah.
We've talked before on the show about college campuses and college towns, and that concept of not all jobs will put you in the physical environment that you want to live in necessarily. And it sounds like you were from a very young age very attracted to the idea of continuing to live in college towns and on college campuses. And you said at some point someone kind of said to you, there's a career to be had in this. So do you remember maybe like who some of those people were and what that shift was for you? Where did you then focus to kind of help you land where you are now?
Yeah, when I was doing that undergraduate hall director experience, very much like our CPI program, we went to a conference, and it's a regional conference for resident assistants in the Intermountain region, so Montana, Idaho, Colorado, Utah, and we had a kind of the closing banquet, and I got to sit next to a woman named Deb Coffin. At the time, she was the director of housing and dining at the University of Northern Colorado. Later, she went on to be the director of housing and dining at the University of Wyoming and Colorado University in Boulder. But Deb was so outgoing, just engaged me in conversation, and you could tell she genuinely just wanted to know about me in my experience. So I told her what I was doing in my job, and she's the first person who said, "Did you know you can do this as a career?" And it was like this explosion went off in my head, and I thought, really, this is amazing. Yeah. Then I went back to my campus, and I talked to the dean of students there. Again, small campus in Dillon, Montana, but our dean of students had just come from UCLA and had all sorts of great experiences. And so I was in a teacher education program, and instead of doing some of the field experience of observing classrooms and teaching in classrooms, he set up a 2-week internship for me at UCLA. So this kid who grew up in small town Montana, small campus in Montana, I got to go spend 2 weeks on the campus at UCLA. And Dr. Suzanne Seplow is the one who coordinated that on the UCLA side. And for 2 weeks, I got to attend every meeting with her. I got to meet the vice president for student affairs. I got to meet some really amazing people who've done amazing work, both in student affairs and both in the academic side there. And I came out of that 2 weeks so excited about what my future might hold. And then as I moved into my master's program, I had people like Ron Hicks, who is the person that hired me there. And I remember him saying, you remind me of myself. You come from a small campus and you just need an opportunity. You clearly have the skills. but you need it. You need an opportunity, and he provided that for me, and has been a wonderful, wonderful mentor to me. And then from the University of Northern Colorado, I got to go to Iowa State University, and we had a really different model there. We had you kind of had 4 supervisors, which sounds horrible.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic. We called it a supervisory team.
Mm-hmm.
And people like Sally Dieters, who had done student conduct for 20 years on that campus. And I find when I'm talking to my colleagues about student conduct, when I'm talking to students, I use Sally's words all the time. They just ring in my head. Ginny Arthur, there's a wonderful woman named Dr. Mimi Benjamin, who was she was part of my first supervisory team. Now she's a faculty member, full-time in student affairs, working with master's students. Mimi's the one who, when I had the first idea that maybe I'll think about a doctorate, she said, "Oh, you'd be great," and she helped me understand the process. She helped me have confidence in myself, and so having those types of mentors was amazing. And then, the other person that really has helped me in my career is Bruce Pittman, who Dr. Bruce Pittman, who was the dean of students at the University of Idaho for 40 years and was the vice president there for a number of years. I think Dr. Pittman may have been the most popular man in Idaho for a very long time, but I got the pleasure to work with him for a couple of years, and to watch him interact with students, to watch him provide care and compassion and education was really fantastic. And so those are just some of the people. There's a lot more, but all of the people that I just named have a couple things in common. They invest in people, and they're willing to be compassionately honest with me on what I was good at, what I wasn't so good at, the mistakes that I made, on helping me understand that I made them and how to fix them. Those are all individuals I could go to and say, here's the situation I had, here's what I did, I think I made a mistake. And they'd say, yeah, let's talk about ways you can do that different next time, but what do we need to do to fix that now? And it was investing in people. They were also helpful in telling me what I was good at and providing some confidence in things, and helping me see opportunities because I didn't know many people who ever were in a graduate program. I had no idea what a doctorate even entailed. And so helping me understand what was going to be in front of me, and kind of helping provide that roadmap for me. Really, student affairs nationwide is so full of amazing people who are willing to invest in others that it's really a pleasure to even be connected to some of those people I named. Awesome.
In closing here, it sounds like you've done a really great job of kind of seeking mentors and kind of stepping back and really looking at what they're doing and trying to take it in and incorporate it. I guess as we close here, do you have any advice for career seekers, students heading out into the workplace, people mid-career, anything?
So much advice. The first thing I would say is try to explore what's out there. I thought I could work in 4 different areas. I didn't know it never occurred to me that people work full-time at a university doing what I do. So explore what's out there. Be curious. And for undergraduate students, one of the biggest things I can say is try to find a job on campus. You will be connected to people who can open a whole other world to you. Even if it's sitting at a reception desk doing filing, you are going to be exposed to things that you probably didn't know existed, and opportunities and careers that you might not have known about. And so try to find those types of positions on campuses, and then find people who will invest in you. Our faculty love students. Our staff at ISU love to work with students. And so ask people around you, how did you get into this job? what was your dream when you were in college? And ask other people about their stories, because you'll pick up a lot of really interesting ideas that you probably haven't thought about before by asking other people about their journey.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Craig.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too. And that was our conversation with Craig Chatriand. I found it very inspiring to hear him recall the names of almost every single mentor he's had along the way. I think that really speaks to his reflection about his past and the people who have helped him, but also being present in the moment to really take it in and understand how these people were helping him and how those connections could help him find the kind of work that he would enjoy. If you have questions about your career pathway, feel free to visit the ISU Career Center website at isu.edu/career. You can also catch all of our Pathways episodes at kisu.org/pathways or on Spotify. You can also catch us the second Wednesday of every month at 7:30 p.m. on KISU. From Pathways in the Idaho State University Career Center, I'm your host, Mark Beaver, wishing you a fantastic rest of your day.